Hey, everybody, this is episode 234. It is June the 19th, 2021 at 10 o'clock in the morning here on the West Coast. Today, I'm talking to a fascinating person. Her name is Tracy Lamourie, and she has a really interesting story. She heard about a case of someone in 1997 who was, in her opinion, at that time, wrongfully convicted of murder, and this person was on death row. And she took up the cause, and she was, after a 20-year effort, she was able to get this man exonerated. And what she learned over this 20-year process is there are so many things that happen in the world, in life, in the justice system that go completely unnoticed. And the key to getting this overturned was publicity, to get eyes on the topic, to get people paying attention to the story. Once she figured that out, she was able to get this case dismissed and the person released from death row. So as a result, she learned all about the legal system, of course, and the appeals process, but she learned a ton about publicity, how to get people focused on the topic that you want them to be focused on. So, of course, we talked about how that skill could be used for nefarious purposes. We know all about big corporations marketing products that are harmful to people's health. But what if you have a good cause, or what if you've got a really great product or something to sell, but you're having trouble getting people to notice you? Well, that's where Tracy's expertise comes in. And she will not take any clients or any causes that she doesn't believe in. So it's a really great conversation. We're talking about all about publicity, how to get it, and how to use ethics properly in this context. So let's welcome Tracy Lamourie to the show right after this.
Welcome to the Newtown Big Dreams podcast, an interview-style talk show that's your gateway to the fabulous and fascinating people who relocated to start a new life. Whether you're new to our podcast or your city, our fellow neighbors from across Canada, North America, and the entire English-speaking world share their stories of reaching new horizons and big dreams. So sit back and relax as we navigate in-depth and intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, executives, creatives, and anyone who can share their story about their Newtown big dreams. And now, here's your host, Luke J. Menkes.
So, Tracy, I believe you're based out of two locations, primarily Toronto and Beverly Hills. I lived in Los Angeles briefly when I was 16, and I grew up in Toronto. I was born and raised in Toronto, West End, like Mississauga, Etobicoke. Spent a lot of time downtown.
My business is in Toronto and Beverly Hills, but we moved a couple of years ago. I bought a home in our third home, but this is our current home, and on Hamilton Mountain. So it's about. I've been joking. So for this year during COVID, it's Hamilton Mountain, not Beverly Hills. I've been saying.
Right.
But I've been doing the same work and still serving clients in LA and in India and Jamaica and Asia and Africa and all over the world from wherever I am. So
nice. When did you start working and living in Beverly Hills?
So it was mostly the working aspect. I started working in Beverly Hills in I started working there virtually much before I ever stepped foot there. So I should say I started working there, with a client base in Beverly Hills in probably 2013. And then in 2018, I made my first trip to Beverly Hills. And it's funny, I joke, in 2 days there, you can do what you can do, in 15 years anywhere else, because everybody's making deals and everybody's ready. If you're at the right tables, you can really turbocharge your work. So I've traditionally, I go back, at least I started going every year. And then I made the decision, well, we really need to be there like 2 months out of the year, at least to, to really soak it in and to make all the impact we can. And then COVID hit. So for the last year and a half, I've been, like I said, Hamilton Mountain, not Beverly Hills, but
Right.
they're waiting on me.
Yeah.
It's all virtual these days. But yeah,
Right.
but in terms of, but I was, in terms of the physicality, I was super, I didn't expect to actually like it. I'm a, red hair kind of alternative kind of girl. I thought, Beverly Hills with their, super whatever, and they're all their labels. I don't care for that. I got my own style.
Right.
And it's not, so that part, kind of turned me off, actually, the part that attracts everybody else. But then when I actually went there, I kind of fell in love. I was like, oh, look, it kind of looks like they've obviously created the part that you see in all the movies is, the Miracle Mile or whatever they call it. It actually looks kind of like Italy, like they've modeled it on like Rome and, some of the fountains. So they actually have a bit of a classic feel, and it's quieter, anyway. So I liked it more than I thought. I didn't expect to like Beverly Hills, but I kind of did.
Nice. So you do a lot of publicity work, and I want to ask you about that, but you also do human rights work. And there's a case where you were 20 years trying to help someone who was innocent, who was on death row. Finally got released in 2017. Tell us how you found out about that story. I guess it was 97.
Yeah, I was talking to
And
that
how you
gentleman
got
literally.
involved.
20 minutes ago, I was talking to Jimmy Dennis, actually. We still talk regularly. So yeah, I was not a publicist. I'm a publicist now, award-winning across industries, blah, blah, blah. But back in those days, I was an entry-level, salesperson in my 20s. And so was my husband. He was doing, whatever just entry-level jobs we were doing. We were advocates and activists who'd had a radio show on University of Toronto radio a few years before that. So we were used to thinking of ourselves as interviewers. So all of a sudden we found about this case, literally we'd never dealt with anything. We were activists, but we never dealt with anything to do with the prison or death penalty or anything like that, murder or anything like that. And all of a sudden, a little corner of the internet back in 1998, when we were 27, 28 years old. And Jimmy Dennis had paid $20 to be listed on some site and he was basically saying, I don't need a pen pal. I'm innocent. I don't know how to reach out to people. Please, can you help me? And I don't know, for some reason, I guess because my husband and I had the radio show earlier than that, before we were in that information gathering mode too, not just activists, but we were like, tell us about it. So something made us literally write a letter. We wrote a letter and we sent it to death row. Right? And he wrote back 28 pages, on both sides with all the really disturbing details and all the case documentation that he had. And so enough that made us go, whoa, wait a minute, this is actually really disturbing. And then what do we do with that? Because we weren't publicists, certainly. We weren't lawyers. We had no money. But we made this step. We reached out to this person, I guess, gave him a little hope because he wrote this 28-page letter. So what do we do with that? Just say, oh, that was a fun read? Or do we be like, no, we need to find a way to do something about it. So we were galvanized and thought, if we put this out there in the world, and maybe somebody else would have the power, will get as upset as we are, but they'll have the power to do something. Maybe a lawyer, maybe a person with money who can get him a lawyer. That's what we thought. Kind of naive, but it worked. After 2 years of doing that, I learned to write my first press release, basically. Literally, that way we ended up getting international attention. We created, in order to be heard more, because it was hard to get one case heard within America, we got lots of international attention about him outside of America. But when he was still convicted, and it was before all the days of making a murderer and wrongful conviction, this and that, and it was really hard to get inside attention. So we created an organization which we call the Canadian Coalition Against the Death Penalty, which gave us the gravitas to be able to, talk about these things. And so that, again, we weren't publicists. I literally learned how to write press releases to get that messaging out. And that messaging got us on MSNBC, Court TV, CNN, all this stuff, which ultimately, made a lot of noise. Lawyers came in and it took them all their amazing years of work for 17 years, because that's how long it takes to unravel this stuff. And, he was freed, thank God, in 2017. And today, if you Google his name, he's an R&B artist, and he's speaking out about justice, and he's using that voice they stole from him for 25 years to do some pretty amazing things. So I'm really proud of that.
Amazing. So you read this 28-page story. You know in your heart he's innocent, but you don't know what to do. The first thing you do is figure out how to bring awareness to the situation. I know it's a 20-year story, but can you kind of summarize what happened to prove that he was innocent, that the whole thing was a hoax?
Yeah, so there was it was obvious to anybody who looked, even at the very beginning. When you started looking at, it's not even that information had to come out that wasn't even there. It was just when you looked at the conviction, you were like, whoa, wait. Even the things that the prosecutor had said in the original trial, like, the prosecutor said in the initial trial, when it was clear that he's a black man, but it's a light-skinned black man. They were saying a dark skin, like really dark skinned black man. They were saying it was a tall guy. He's called Shorty. He's like, and so the weight was like way off. Everything was way off. And the way the prosecutor, that's just one little point, right? That first got our attention. But the way the prosecutor explained that in the actual, like, in the closing argument was like, okay, they said, okay, but he's not the right race, weight, or height, right? And the prosecutor said, this is not a case about race, weight, or height. This is about the right to go out in the street and not get shot.
Yeah.
What? So basically, he admitted right there, it's about, high profile cases about convicting somebody. So, but there was way more to it than that, and it took 17 years. And then, I'm not the one to speak even on the legal stuff because this stuff gets so convoluted. And like, more the question is, how was he ever, allowed to stay in there for like when it was, this evidence was so clearly wrong, as opposed to, and then obviously their work brought up more. They were able to talk to this person and that person and prove this and put this into the record that wasn't in the record before, and all those things that take all those years. But basically, I mean, we had the evidence. We knew from the very beginning, even as 28-year-olds who weren't in the law, who weren't in the, this was way wrong. And everybody that actually looked at it was disturbed, So, it was just, it's more an incredible, to me, it's more incredible that he was ever convicted and that he was allowed to be sitting there just ready to die. But, because they're really, and that's why we ended up doing the coalition against the death penalty, because that woke us up to the fact of what, if that could happen, how many people has this happened to that we would never hear of, because they didn't know how to do what Jimmy Dennis knew how to do, which was write to people like us, or to write to that, how many people, right? It just happened. So.
Yeah. So you realized early that getting attention on this story was really a key to getting the conviction overturned, getting international attention.
And I wasn't a publicist. I just thought, well, it just literally came from, okay, how can I help? I really can't. Maybe if I let someone else know, they can help. So that was that literally like reaching out, thinking somebody's going to read this. And then from that, it's like, well, how do you get the people to see it? Well, I guess if the media talks about it, and then literally, so I developed, and then my personal weird part of the story is like 11 years later, wasn't until I was 41. So now I'm an international award-winning publicist. I wrote my first press release at 28 for Jimmy, and we kept on doing that. And I was kept on for the next 13 years. We were doing that and getting major media. Meanwhile, I was going off to my sales job. It was never connected in my head at all. It was just, we were getting like major international media through my skills, but I was like, great, yay, success. We got the media. I was never thinking about, making money out of that, or making like, stop doing my stupid sales job and creating a business out of PR or anything like that. So it took me until 41 to figure that out.
Right. But you learned a ton through that process about publicity, how to get publicity, how to handle interviews. Tell us some of the things you learned about drawing attention to a story and handling the interview once you get there.
And I mean, it's funny because it's counterintuitive. If you were going to advise someone to start doing a career in public relations where your job is to take other people's messaging and elevate it, you wouldn't advise them to first build their own reputation on something that is controversial to so many people. Now it's not controversial. Innocent man, everybody gets behind that, right? Oh my God, you're a hero. You freed an innocent man from death row. But when he was on death row and you're talking about it, that is, it's people aren't so much on board. You're a crazy one talking about the innocent guy on death row. People aren't so sure, but they don't know about it if they don't look into it. As soon as they look at it, they're like, oh my God, I see what you're talking about. This is disturbing. But the average person, they just hear about that. It's not like it's prestigious work. It's the opposite of prestigious work. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear you talk about it. Nobody, so you wouldn't have picked that to go and, you know what I mean? So but that it was good. I mean, it taught me so much how to deal with media on something where they're not, running to get your attention. You know what I mean? You have to show them. We had to learn how to be strategic in our language, and it's funny because I don't even know how we did all that because we had no teachers. Me and my husband, we started doing this. We were like talking to the other anti-death penalty activists that were organized in the States that were already established, but they weren't the ones getting the media we got. They were staring at us like, whoa, a minute later, because we were getting in, media started calling us the feisty Canadians, because we were like, this is just wrong. And we're going to, like, we were passionate about it. And we were just, so we did things like we had governors invited to executions. We had prisoners invite governors to the execution. Say, if you're going to, you're signing off on having me be murdered, people who were claiming they were innocent. And I didn't know if they were because they're not Jimmy and we hadn't gone through all those documentation. We said, but we did things like that. And that, got put into media. George W. Bush was invited, had a prisoner called Shaka Sankofa who claimed of innocence. And I don't know for sure, but we said to him, well, Shaka, why don't you invite, because George W. Bush was governor at the time signing off on his warrant. Texas, and we said, you have 5 people on your execution, like their prisoners allowed to have 5 family members or friends come and watch them die. Nice. And we said, how about you have only 4 and you tell one of your friends to stay home and you invite the governor as your 5th and you make that public and you put that out in a press, we said that to him by FedEx, like 2 days before his execution. And 2 days, but I barely tell this story because it sounds so incredible. But 2 days after that, Jesse Jackson, who was his spiritual advisor, was in visiting him and he'd got our FedEx and I was literally watching CNN and saw Jesse Jackson come out of the death house and say, quote my letter, say, we were asking George Bush to have the courage, our quote, the courage of his convictions to come and watch his execution. Out of Jesse Jackson's mouth, the words that I sent to that prisoner, so some of the stuff we've done is like crazy, but that was a good idea. That's why he repeated it, because he was like, that is good. Nobody's ever done that. Have the courage come to and of course the governor respectfully declined because, he knew what we knew. That would be really bad for him to go and sit there and look at the international community would be like, whoa, that would be really, really bad. Right.
Oh yeah. But he was probably busy, right? Golfing, flossing his hats, something like that.
So we, but we did things like that. We thought of strategic things, and that's the answer to the question. I mean, it sounds like we're going off track, but we're really not, because we thought of what do you do to get media attention that's not the same old, same old? They've heard this, they've heard the other, what do you do? You got to do something different. Or, in the stuff I do today, it doesn't have to be radical because we're not talking about the death penalty. It could be, now I work with entrepreneurs and artists and whatever. And then it's just a matter of highlighting what they're doing and finding the opportunity for them to speak out. And, so it's changed into, but I'm still that activist at heart. And I don't take on anything that activist wouldn't be proud of. You know what I mean? So I still work with all the same goals and the same, I get paid for it now, not for Jimmy. I still work with Jimmy and I'm not going to take money for that. But until he gets his millions.
Right. That's super great. So do you believe that public relations and media are more important than marketing for any company or business person? Do you think that's more important?
I mean, it's hard to say more. It's equally as important. Because I know you obviously need marketing. It's cousin of marketing. But what I've been told, I think if you don't have that component of PR and media, and 80% of entrepreneurs are not thinking about it. We think about advertising. We think about the advertorial. We don't have the editorial. But honestly, especially in today's world, you've heard the phrase thought leadership and all this. There's like a million, there's so many opportunities in mainstream media to be heard. And I'm talking about, radio, television, newspaper, and all that. If you're not doing that, somebody else in your, business is. And startups and stuff like that, for example, I'm not a finance girl, so I wasn't thinking about things like that. I was only thinking about differentiating yourself from your competitor, attracting customers, that kind of stuff. But one of my clients who's in startup phase, money startup phase, she said to me after 6 weeks of working together, you've changed my business and my life. And when I asked why, she said, you've made investors take us more seriously. So that gravitas of now that, you know what I mean? So it's not my job to sell. Marketing is about selling. And people will say to me, well, what's the ROI? Did your clients get more sales? I'm like, no idea. I'm assuming they did because they hired me again. But it's not my business about their sales. It's not my business about my business is to sell them to media so that and then ultimately to people, so that when they open their mouth to sell their book or to sell their product, they have that credibility and that gravitas behind them.
Yes. So I have 2 daughters and 2 stepdaughters between 10 and 18. Please tell me so I can tell them what is a power woman and how do they each become one?
You can tell them they are power women right now and they need to think about it. Because the reason I started the power woman thing is it came about. I wouldn't have called myself that. People were always calling me that. I was called that a whole bunch of times. So then I started to be like, okay, well, all right, I guess I am, because, for sure, can't stop me. You know what I mean? Even before people knew my name, I was always like this, right? So I'm a power woman, sure. But I say everybody, we all are. Once we believe that we are, it's true. And that's not just, positivity, whatever. But it's like, honestly, look at what you do. Seriously, whether you're, an entrepreneur or starting a business, or you want to be, or you wrote a book, or you were planning to write a book, or just, in your own life, how many, ask a lot of guys, is your mom a power woman? They'll be like, too right, she is,
Right.
because a lot of people count, with people counting on you, you're coming through, you're doing things, you're changing things for people. That's a power woman. So we all are in one aspect or another, right? In my sense, it's like I'm public, so you see my work, and I get on all the stages, and because I'm a publicist and I know how to shine a light on what I do. And now I teach people, no matter what you do, why it's important to, like you said, why to do that, right?
Yeah.
And also, you're in real estate, right?
Correct. Yes.
Any real estate agent listening, like, it's funny. If you ever listen to my first 100 podcast interviews, I reference real estate agents all the time when it comes to PR. And the reason for that is because as a publicist, people know about the, press releases you can put out and all that. But what people don't have a understanding or knowledge of is that every day, what I call the opposite of a press release, there's lists, and PR people get requests from media. Do you have a client who can answer this? Do you have a source for this? I'm looking for a source, blah, blah, blah. Every day, the services that we use is just all kinds of stuff. Anyway, you will be surprised. There's not one industry that you see more requests from media for than real estate. And at first I was so confused, because everybody knows a real estate agent, right? And if you don't know one, if you go outside, you'll see an ad. So why wouldn't the media just, hey, Bob, I saw your ad there. I have a question about real estate. Can you tell me? Maybe some of them do, but clearly most of them don't, because every day we publicists see the request. Why? Because media is looking for someone, who gets it, who understands the difference between advertorial and editorial, who you can just sit right down, they're going to give you their answer, who's going to hopefully have some kind of profile. Once you've worked with a publicist, we will have got you media, so that you are that star agent, and so literally, I go, oh my God, because real estate agents every day, I don't know how much you guys pay for that bus shelter ad or that whatever, which clearly you need, because you need your local people to see it, right? Yeah. But if you, like I always say, if any of those agents knew that just 1 week, don't put up that bus shelter ad and give me the money to do some heavy PR for you just for 1 week or 1 month instead of that, you'll be like, oh my God, because I've got a client in Ottawa, a real estate agent in Ottawa. He's been in like 15 media across Canada and across the US now. Wow. Including Formidable Men magazine, Hollywood Times. Sure, he's selling in Ottawa, but people in LA look at Ottawa too. And now he's now the celebrity Canadian client, real estate agent.
Very cool.
He rehired me again immediately after the first month, because he saw, and that was just me pitching. There's articles right now, like Authority magazine is doing a big series about meet the female leaders of real estate. They're doing another big series. So and you guys don't know any clue about this stuff, and you're just paying for the ad in the paper. And meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, my Ottawa client now, he's just like, boom, the star. Please let me give you more of my money, Tracy. Do that again.
Right. Hey, Tracy, do you need to let the puppy out? Hear the puppies?
You can hear him there. He's crying.
A little bit.
Yeah, he's crying because his mama left.
Oh,
my daughter. So if he goes out there, then he's just not going to be with any of us, and then he'll probably even cry even more.
I see.
But I can maybe open it a little bit and see if he'll go and run and realize she's not there, and then come back. There you go.
Okay, no problem. So I want to ask you about this publicity for realtors, because I am super passionate on many social issues and different things. And I've got some people telling me, like, don't say anything about that because you're going to piss off half of the people. Like, if there's a politician or something, you're going to piss off half of the people. My view is I would rather attract the people that think like I do, that are passionate about the same things as I do. I don't have enough time to have everyone in town be my client. So I'm not really interested in people who disagree with me. Exactly.
Yeah. Same exact thing as I say about, when I said it was counterintuitive. What about that? Why would I build that career if how can I be a publicist with this whole background? Because if you Google me, I have a long history. I'm not just a no name. I'm like, history as an activist, history as a whatever. But the people who are turned off by that, like you said, they won't come to me. Fine. That's cool. The people, you know what I'm saying? Or the people that don't like the crazy bright red hair and they want someone who has they think, they won't come to me. Okay.
Right.
Don't come to me. But you will resonate. Like they say, your vibe attracts your tribe. It's true in business too. You will resonate more instead of just trying to be the bland nobody. Be yourself. As long as you're not like, you're not trying to offend people or hurt people. You're not being racist. You're not being, but just be yourself. And you will attract, the people that you will work well with. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want the people to. Why would I try to pretend to be something I'm not, so that somebody can hire someone they think they're hiring, and eventually we're gonna not vibe. You know what I mean? But if they were like, let them know what they're getting. Be right out there. Okay?
Exactly. So here in Western Canada, I live in a town with about 150,000 people. So Canadians have a reputation for being super polite. And I think it's even worse out here. I don't see any realtors really doing much publicity work. How do media outlets decide which stories to cover and which not to cover?
Well, that's a question. Media and every reporter, every editorial, room has its own decision, and also it changes from day to day. So something could be a great story may not get any play, and it's not because the press release was bad or the story isn't good, but maybe the editor decided, well, we've had a similar story like that last week, and we're not going to cover it again right now. Or they might be. Or they could be planning something in 2 months on that. And so they're not going to, it doesn't matter what you send, that's going to go for 2 months from now. So they have their own schedule and their own whatever too. And you never know what determination they're making. So that's why you've got to, but the most important thing to know is to know who their demographic is, what kind of stories they normally run. So, and just like I wouldn't, submit the client to, an amazing musician or something to you on this podcast because it has nothing to do with what you're talking about, even if they have a great story. It's the same thing. You have to really edit yourself and know the media that you're dealing with and what they offer and what their demographic is and all that stuff. But also, those incoming things, give us just such a huge idea of what media is looking for too, because like I say, every day I see media requests for real estate agents, and it's the breadth of them are amazing. And another reason why you see so many for real estate, I figured out, is because real estate covers so much of it. It's where we live, which is everything, right? And then it's finance and investment and neighborhoods and all that stuff. So there's a lot of different conversations and stories that can come of it. And so agents probably aren't even thinking. I see every day things like just a couple of examples: media looking to interview a real estate agent about what colors to paint your kitchen so that it sells faster. So there, somebody's doing an article in like Better Homes and Gardens or Reader's Digest or some major thing is doing an article about what color to paint your kitchen because it sells better. So that one example. So there's that can give an agent a bunch of ideas, like even if you're not in that article, well, then what are you doing? What could you be doing other than just saying, here's a house I have for sale? You could be doing stuff like that, writing blogs like that, talking about stuff like that. But other kinds of media that I've seen recently asking for, I should just real estate. I'll just give you an idea so you guys, you can hear what kind of things I've seen for real estate agents recently. So one was non-traditional real estate investor stories. Does your client have a day job but also views real estate investing as an income stream? There was one about smart and creative stories for getting a home seller to accept your offer. There was another one where they wanted to talk to agents who had beat out other agents in a bidding war. If you'd had at least 10, thing. Other one here that I'm looking at, these are all from the last week. One money.com. So that's some big media was looking for realtors who included pets in home listings. And they wanted to know if the inclusion of the pets either hindered or helped the home listing.
Like, you mean they were selling the pet with the house?
No, they would. I guess they just put the picture in the ad. They had like the Great Dane, and so the reporter had the article. That's funny. That's even better. But the reporter, I guess, had an idea like, does that make a difference? Does it make people more likely to buy or less likely to buy? So someone's doing an article about. I would never thought about that, right? So including but now some realtors getting quoted. Like my client there, Nick Ty in Ottawa, he's been quoted on on smart homes, on how you can buy a home from your sofa now, on what color this, on young buyers in the market. So literally like anything you can think of. And this is mainstream media. So real estate, like specifically, if someone hires me, I put it this way, somebody hires me in real estate, like today, tomorrow, I've got them 5 media opportunities. They're putting on their site, Authority magazine. And I'm talking about not even a quote in Authority, a giant profile of you where you look like a rock star with a photo and they ask you 15 questions. So people come to me, I make them celebrities. You know what I mean? And celebrity real estate agent, the celebrity hair guy, the celebrity thought leader. What does that mean? Well, you're being internationally quoted. You're globally, like my hair guy hired me at a Saskatoon 2 weeks ago. I've got him since then in Hollywood Times, in Formidable Man, in Prosperity Press in Los Angeles, even though he's mostly selling on his street in Saskatoon. But now he's got headlines saying recognized from Baghdad to Beverly Hills.
Wow.
Right.
So
and now those people in Saskatoon are going to come and line up at his door.
Right. So it's impressive to the people in Saskatoon to see that he is internationally recognized.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if I do get interviewed by a media outlet, do I just show up, put on a tie, and answer whatever they ask me? Or is there a strategy to
half the time it's
deal with
even
that?
Easier than that. 3/4 of the media that we see that people are getting placed in Reader's Digest and Good Housekeeping and like mainmoney.com and those ones I just read to you, most of those times you're never going to have to even speak to a reporter. It's literally they sending you the questions by through the publicist email. So they know you're legit, and they send the questions by email and you're answering them by email. You send it off the next day, boom, I'm in. Oh my God, look at me, and I do the same thing for me is what I've been doing for my clients. That's why when you Google my name, proof is in the pudding. You Google my name. Everybody listening, go Google Tracy Lamourie right now and see what comes up. You will find over 200 media, like all the other stuff that there's thousands of things, but you'll also find there's like 8,000 things come up or whatever. But you'll find 200 media appearances, podcasts, radio, television, panels where I'm talking about this stuff. And my time is valuable. I am hugely busy and I'm crazy, but I put my time into these podcasts because it's it works out. People like me when they hear me, so then they want to work with me. So then it's like, it acts like an ad. It acts like marketing. It also educates people about stuff they don't already know. It's networking, But honestly, real estate, I can't say it enough because the reason I have a client in real estate, it's funny because 80% of my work is referred and repeat business. I don't go looking for clients. I just don't, right?
Yeah.
But I was so frustrated about how many, I'm not joking, daily, like 5 times a day, you see media opportunities for real estate agents without even trying, right?
Yeah.
More than any. I was so frustrated with seeing such good opportunities on my desk with no agent to give them to. I literally was reached out to 5 agents until one got it. I was like, look, I don't normally reach out. I don't do, and this probably, you don't know what I'm talking about. So you're going to be like, what? But here's the thing. Please read and understand this. There are these media opportunities, free media opportunities. You just got to pay the publicist to find them and to, insert you and all that. That's it. And so the one I told maybe 5 agents, 10, they're like, I don't know. It sounds good. Because no one really understood what I was saying. And then Nick Kite jumped on it. He's like, sure. Tried it for 1 month, got all that media. By the end of the month, he's like, I'll hire you, take my money. And he hired me for a year.
Nice.
He's like, please, more. And every day I'm sending him. Every day I'm getting it. And he's got more incoming every day. So yeah. And that's all you just, literally. So a portion of your marketing budget, pay me. I work internationally. And you'll be surprised. So I only take one. I work with 3 agents now, each in their own market. And I wouldn't take 2 agents in one market, because I'm building them internationally, but I want them to get attention,
yeah.
I don't want them to be competing in the market, so.
Yeah. Do you have anybody in Kelowna?
I don't. You.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So what do you do? Do you look at their business, come up with a strategy, and then give a proposal, and then you charge a certain amount of money and you make the connections?
It's even simpler than the proposal and all that. It's very, really organic. Because once I look at you, I don't take anybody's money unless I know I can get some quick action. And because I've been doing this for so long, I mean, we don't know about everybody's business is different. So we're going to have different strategies in the second part, and we don't know what's going to come up in the second part, but in the of the month, in the first part of the month, if you hire me, today, right, I already know all I'm going to need from you, right? I'm going to be like, okay, Luke, I need a high res picture. and I need your existing bio and your website, right? If you didn't have an existing bio, I'd be putting that together quick, fast. And there, literally, I'm submitting you to the 3 or 4 places that I already have relationships with that I know I can pretty much get some quick action. So right away, you've got to, I would tell you, look here, you choose your 1 month, or you choose your 3 months, or you choose your 6 months. You pay me for that period of time, the 1 month, the 3 months, the 6 months. And then I just go, just start like tomorrow, you're going to start getting some of the things. Like, here you go. Is this one? Do you want to answer this one? Do you want to? And with real estate, I said that before I even have time to do the profile of the article, before I'm even getting you the questions to profile you in those first steps, I literally open up my email and I'm seeing 5 requests coming in from media as I've literally put your bio together. So I'm like, hold on, and so with those, it's usually like a 1 or 2 thing. Like, some people like to type and I'll send them the questions and they'll be like, I'll send you the answers. Other people, it's like, I feel like it's quicker if I can just be like, hey, I saw this media request. I'll call you in 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you the question. You're going to tell me the answer. I'm going to type out your answer. I'm going to send it to you, and you're going to tell me this is what you said, and then I send it to the reporter, and then we just forget about it. And then the reporter either comes back and says, yep, they're in. Sometimes they tell us, sometimes they don't. You have to be good on Google and searching 2 weeks later, and then you find, oh, look at that, they used me in Reader's Digest, charming. And the reporter tells you like a month later, because they didn't even know it was published, because they're submitting it. And so, yeah, that's how it works. It's basically really simple and easy. People choose their 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months. I invoice them, e-transfer, PayPal, you pay that amount. I also have an hourly if somebody wants like 3 hours or whatever. We have all kinds of different ways that I can work. But, people pay me up front, and then I just go to the races, and they're like, I like this in a minute, because really quickly I've got a few things for, like, what I mean, like things I can develop for anybody that has any kind of profile, right? And then after that, the research starts. So now it's about, okay, what does Luke do specifically? I'm going to talk to you about everything. Now I already know you're an agent, but you're going to tell me about your life and what your other interests are, and if you're a connoisseur of wine or a connoisseur of this, because you never know where I might see a media opportunity about that other thing. Maybe it's just about your hobby, but maybe you're like you're a wine, you love riding horses, so there's an article about horses, and I can get you into that. Luke Menke's Kelowna real estate agent. So sometimes it might just be that, right, where they mention, and you're mentioned, but then you're mentioned all of a sudden in like Time magazine in an article about, it's just that one little line, but then you can still say as featured in, and so you build on all of that.
Nice. Yeah. Well, for me, it's definitely conducting interviews. That's probably my favorite hobby outside of real estate, is interviewing people. So I love to do that. And I've got a whole ton of hobbies. I mean,
you got to be on the other side of it now and get interviewed.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
I'm your girl.
So you've got like real estate agents, hairstylist, someone on death row. I mean, is there any type of situation that you wouldn't want to help with the publicity for?
For sure, but it's not so much a particular person's position as that it will be the person themselves. So I'm all about the ethical and the genuineness, and I don't want to be putting out any messaging in the world that I'm not proud of, and that activist me wouldn't have been proud of. I kind of stay away from corporate, not for ethical reasons. I do some corporate, but big. It has to be a real conversation with me first, because it can be so big that you can't really. I like to know there's an individual that I can trust. That's not going to turn on a dime. That I'm going to be. I understand what their messaging is, right? But also corporate can be annoying just because they don't understand that you need a quick answer for media. Like I said, if I get suddenly, media on a deadline at noon tomorrow, and you have the opportunity to answer whatever, if you want to have this corporate, they want to, hold on, Tracy, we're going to have a meeting. We're going to get all 5 of us around the meeting. We're going to talk about this request. And then we're going to decide who should answer it. And then we're going to decide what we should say. I'm laughing going, good luck, guys. Bye. The entrepreneur already got it. The guy quick on the draw already got it. They don't have time for you to wait 4 days to decide who's going to answer it and what 3 words you're going to say. So like I can't do PR by like boardroom. I refuse. I couldn't.
Right.
I refuse. Right. So I work for corporate, for Hollywood, for individual, for as long as if it's corporate, it has to be there was a person who's accountable. There's a guy, a girl who is like the decision maker, and we can get a quick answer.
Yeah, and somebody will respond. Yeah, totally. So you've got a great website at lamouriemedia.com. Tell us about your website and the intake process. Like if someone is interested, what's the process to get started with you?
So yeah, first we have a conversation, send me all your stuff. Cause I say, I'm really super open to projects, and most people who come to me, who like me and who come to me are probably going to be something that I'm going to resonate with and I'm going to like, right? So chances are, if you like, if you've seen me on a podcast and you've heard me and like, and you approach me, we're probably going to resonate. It's probably, but if you just picked up my name, randomly and you're just calling publicists, we may not, So I don't know what you're all about. I may not want to work with them, and maybe not my scene. So I decide too. I'm deciding as much as you're deciding, right? Because I'm luckily at the stage in I'm so public now, and I'm the celebrity publicist. So I'm also very careful about what I attach my name to, because I'm not in the shadows. I'm not, people know who I work with, and it matters. Like, again, I want activist me to always be happy with me more than I want my banker to be happy with me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I say no to some projects if they don't feel they resonate. And I'll say no to projects if I don't feel I can get you the thing, which is very rare. I can get anybody, any action. I can't think of a situation where I unless the person, musical person, not talent, not ready for prime time or something. I'm not one of those people that's going to be like, oh yeah, I can push you. I'm not going to do that, because no,
right.
I'm not going to build up your hopes, and I'm going to tell you to go get ready and do some more things before you're ready, right?
Yes, makes sense. I want to ask you a little bit about that, because when I've been a realtor for many, many years. I was in Florida, in Toronto, 8 years here in Kelowna, 8.5. And when I started out, I would take anything. If the person had no money, and, I would take any client. Now I'm much more selective, but I always feel awkward telling someone, I don't want to work with you. How do you do that as someone who's got so many demands on your time? How do you tell someone, listen, we're not a good fit?
So if that's a really good question, because I've had a couple times, it's a couple times where I guess. Yeah, I mean, it depends, I guess, why. Like, if it's because they're not, they're maybe not ready yet. If it's because because they could have talent, but they could not be ready. If I don't think they're ready to play, you know what I mean? Because I'm playing big leagues. Like, I mean, I'm not joking around. We're talking big leagues, right? So if it's something like an entertainer and they're not ready yet, then well, do you want to work with me a little bit so we can make you get ready? Okay, maybe that's a different story. What are your expectations? That's not your, meeting. If it's a situation where I don't want to work with the person because I just, I don't like something they've done, then I'm just going to be like, it's not a good fit. I don't know if you researched me or know anything about my background, but so I've had like twice where people have called me about a project, and I've been like, I've literally been sitting there thinking like, why?
What makes you think I would be interested?
Yeah, like what makes you think like? And I'm a really public person, so I assume if you found my name, you know at least like a line of at least one thing about me. You know what I mean? Like, at least you've seen me on a webpage or something. So what would give you the idea that I would do that? Like, that's like opposite from everything I've ever done or said. But then I realized it was mostly stateside, and it was mostly like, and then I realized, no, I think some people just think, oh well, people do things for money. Maybe that's her public. Maybe she did that for money, and if I give her this money, she'll do this for money, and she'll like when like I'm not a Trump girl, to say the least. And like 2 years ago, before the last election, and I don't even want to do any politics these days because it's a whole gay. I used to love it, but I don't. But this was a client that had come into me. They were like a commercial client, nothing to do with politics, right? They had some software or some whatever they were doing, and they had clients, and they wanted me to do their PR for them, which I'm like, let's talk about it. And then for their clients, but I thought, oh, that'd be great, sure. And so I was doing their PR, like just on a limited basis, not with a contract, but just piece by piece. And then they were presenting me, they had some like dating site in Beverly Hills that wanted me to do some writing. So I thought, okay, cool, I'll do some copy for them. So they presented me a couple of their clients, and I was doing some work for a couple of their clients. And then all of a sudden we're on the phone one day, and he's like, hold on, I hate to put you on the phone on a call, I never would put you on hold, but and he named some big American political figure, like Republican, that was in the news. And I was like, he's like, oh, do you know who that is? I'm like, yeah, because he was saying it like I was supposed to be super impressed, right? I was like, yeah. And then I'm on hold thinking, as he's putting me on hold, I'm hearing his conversation with this person on the other side, which is just like a generic, yep, I'll call you, and I'm like sitting there just on the call going, hold on a second. I'm thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? And then, but he's not brought any political to me. He's only been bringing these other things. So I'm like that. And then the next thing he's like, oh, we're doing a big political thing. And basically every Republican, they wanted every Republican in America to be their client, like every Republican candidate to be their client for whatever software they were doing, which was like, oh my God. And then they bring me, as I'm still sitting here thinking, You know, like trying to understand why. Because I mean, everything about me, if you Google my name, like there's nothing that would make you think, you know? So I'm sitting there like, and then they start showing me, hold on, let me show you our product. I'm still sitting there like kind of stunned. And they start showing me like their software product and all the crazy stuff it can do and all the crazy information it can get on people. You know, like, call this number. I phone this number. And they're like, you've reached Women for Trump or something. And they're like, if you were in Canada, if you were in America and you just called that number, we would now have 500 bits of information about you.
Oh, geez.
Like, you know, and I was like, that's great. I gotta go. And then I just got off the phone and I'm like, I don't know why those people have like, I stopped working on all the contracts. I was like, you know what? I finished that. I didn't want to promote them anymore or their Beverly Hills dating service client, or I'm just like, no, thanks.
You could deal with a hairstylist who's into horseback riding and wine who happen to vote for Trump, but you don't want to deal with like publicity for Republicans.
I won't say for Republicans, not for people, not for humans. I mean, people. I'm saying for that, and even, you know, I wouldn't work on a Republican campaign for sure, right?
Right.
But I mean, in terms of Republican human beings, right? It depends on the person. Like, if the person is a passionate Trump guy, you know, he's not going to be a fit for me. I'm not going to like him. He's not going to like me. We're not going to be a fit, right? It's just we're not going to be a fit. So, I mean, I have friends that are like, we're in Canada, so they're not, you know, conservatives for sure. You know, I have clients and associates who are conservatives. I may disagree with them a lot on certain, you know, aspect of things, but they're not doing anything. It's not about the person, it's about the project. In that case, their project, they wanted to hire me to like, and I'm good at what I do. If I write compelling language, it's compelling and it makes people do things. You're not going to hire me to write copy for every Republican candidate in America.
Right. It's not happening.
There is not, like, no word of a lie. There is not enough money on this planet. Like, there's no, to make me do something that I would think, because it's not just a matter of voting for something I don't believe, you know, the implications of what would happen, or, you know, the social justice. I couldn't, you couldn't pay me for that. So I'm proud to say, and I mean it when I say that. So that shows me, you know, the passion that I feel when I say that shows me that the activist me still exists way more than the money in me. Because, like, you know, I'm building a business here, but no, you could not come and give me $1 billion to do all of America's Republican messaging for the next year. No,
100%. Totally get it. Not
happening.
So, last question, Tracy. Sorry
to make that political.
No, I totally understand. I totally get where you're coming from. You don't want to work on projects that your heart's not in,
and then I wouldn't be ethical too. And also, you wouldn't be ethical. I also say, even if it's not something so deeply political, like even if it's just something like, if someone explains to me their or not political at all, if someone explains to me their project and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Then I think I ethically should not take on that project, even if they're giving me money, because I clearly don't get it. I want to be excited about it. When they tell me, I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And that's how it normally is. I'm usually like, oh my God, you know what I could do? You know who I should tell about this? That's what I should feel. Because if I understand the project and I'm passionate about it, I'm going to understand the demographic. I'm going to understand your message, why you're excited about getting it out there. And I'm not going to be half-assed about it. You know, so I think ethically you need to be like into it.
Yeah, totally makes sense to me. Tell us about your great website. What are we going to find at lamourie.com?
So you're going to find all kinds of testimonials there. People, you know, saying really nice things about me, which I'm honored. People that I'm honored to elevate their voices and to work with them. And they all say really nice things about me. And that's on there. And then also a lot of media is on there. So on there, you'll find all kinds of articles about me, not the death penalty stuff, but all the stuff about building your brand and, you know, promoting. And well, actually some crossover, because you also have a lot of interviews with me there when I talk about both. People ask me about the beginning of how I wrote how I got involved with this. And I'm very happy to segue a business podcast into a 20-minute lesson on human rights. I love doing that.
That's awesome. Well, you've got tremendous energy, Tracy, and I believe that you would get stuff done very efficiently and quickly, because you don't meander with the conversation. You got a tremendous amount of energy, which is just awesome. And I love the story of how you found a cause that you were passionate about in your 20s. And you learn all about publicity and media attention and getting that focused on the correct things to build publicity for people. So I'm definitely going to send people to your website, and I'm going to check it out myself now that I know that you don't have any realtors in Kelowna.
I don't have any realtors in all of BC, so I can make you the BC realtor star.
That's perfect, because we have a ton of people moving from the coast. And, Toronto is like Vancouver, like prices are ridiculous, especially within the city. Kelowna is beautiful, so we got a ton of people moving up here.
And it's funny, my daughter's birth mother lives in Kelowna. So I hope to get there at some point. I've never been to the mountains. Other than right? So it's funny. I was in Los Angeles. The first time I saw mountains was in Santa Monica. And I was like, oh my God, it's awe-inspiring. Look at the mountain. They're looking at me like, aren't you Canadian? I'm like, yeah, Ontario. Hamilton Mountain is about all I got, which is not a mountain. It's just a big hill.
Right. Totally.
So,
Tracy, great talking to you today. Thank you for your time.
Much. It's been a lot of fun.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Newtown Big Dreams podcast with your host, Luke Menkes, and his authentic guests. And we love our listeners and hope you subscribe now to learn more about the amazing journeys of our incredible guests who relocated to find a Newtown Big Dreams. And remember, make your dreams big.